It's bad news, but maybe also good news. On its 30th anniversary, Camelot Software Planning is radically shaking up its approach to developing games. Company president Hiroyuki Takahashi has set out on the company website the plan for this change of vision, and in this Nintendo forecast, we're going to see what it could mean for the future of this iconic development team, and in particular the chances of a new Golden Sun title in the near future. So who are Camelot Software Planning? The company was founded 30 years ago from rebranding Shining the Holy Ark devs Sonic Software Planning in March 1996, and since then Camelot has had two distinct phases. In their early years, they were known and loved as the genius creators of Shining Force and the Golden Sun series, but for nearly a quarter century now, they've been Nintendo's most trusted developers for Mario Golf and tennis titles. But they've always been a niche boutique studio, literally a family business thanks to the two heads, Shugo and Hiroyuki Takahashi being brothers. I'm using Google Translate to get the gist of this latest message, but here's what Hiroyuki had to say. We've been trying to create works that are particular about originality and game nature, but as a result our works have been highly evaluated in Western countries and have recorded more sales than in Japan. This is true. It's one of the strange quirks of Camelot history that while the Shining series is immensely successful in Japan, when I was there in 2013 I remember massive billboards for the series, the Camelot games are the only ones that really hold the popular imagination in the West. Similarly, the Mario Tennis and Golf games seem to have had a particular hold on the imagination of gamers outside Japan. In March 2019, out of 2.64 million copies of Mario Tennis Aces sold, only 550,000 were Japanese titles. That's no slouch sales-wise, but when you consider Pikmin 4 sold more than 1 million copies in Japan in under a year on the market, you can see that the home market hasn't been the biggest supporter of Camelot's efforts. Hiroyuki continues, "It is a difficult job to create new genres and games, but it can be said that our titles have been recognised in the world across the sea because we have dared to face difficulties and create a one-of-a-kind title with little similarity. I think so." Now, your mileage may vary on whether the succession of golf and tennis titles qualifies as a one-of-a-kind titles with little similarity. It is of course true that each iteration of the franchise has particular quirks and changes to make them unique and different enough at least to justify the moniker of a sequel as opposed to an enhanced remake. Nevertheless, I think it's fair to say that the Takahashi Brothers are, at heart, interested in varied gameplay. From 1992 to 2002, they have to their names RPGs with such diverse mechanics as dungeon crawlers, Zelda-likes, tactics, and puzzle-oriented traditional JRPGs. Perhaps this innovative spirit hasn't found its best expression in the latter years, but clearly they do have a bold vision for their games. But here coming up is the key bit of Hiroyuki's message. So we decided to recruit staff this time. Our company has been engaged in production activities with a small number of elite staff for the purpose of pinpointing the title of the flagship. The company called Camelot was exactly a group of production specialists, so this is an interesting explanation for why Camelot was named as it was, and it's certainly true that the core group seems to have come together and stuck with the company for a long time. But now let's look at the big change he's announcing. However, from now on, we would like to expand the range of human resources who recruit so that the development field expands from games to computer entertainment, and I would like you to open the door to more talents and demonstrate their talents to the fullest at our company. Okay, so first of all, they're looking to expand, and a cursory glance at their website makes obvious that they are very heavily promoting themselves as a place to nurture and develop younger talent with bios and promotions about how younger people thrive at Camelot. They're also looking to expand their development field from just games to computer entertainment. Presumably this encompasses potential smartphone applications, as I see on their site, an excellent user interface cultivated in game production. It can be used intuitively and it's fun to operate. We have been pursuing the feeling of such users, and we are also expanding our activities in the field of mobile phones and smartphones. Basically, they're leveraging their ability to create instinctive user interfaces to support the development of apps, and they have a number of examples on their website to demonstrate this. Why the change? Well, first of all, Hiroyuki Takahashi is 66 and his brother Shugo is 61. Evidently they're looking to hand over Camelot to the next generation, and part of this seems to mean diversifying the company's areas of expertise. Perhaps the senior figures at Camelot have also noted the collapse of loyal Nintendo supporting studios such as Alpha Dream and Vanpool, and have decided that they need to be less reliant on the Big N for their bread and butter. However, the expansion is suggested to be as well as games rather than instead of games, and of course, the forthcoming Switch successor means that new opportunities for Camelot to establish themselves may be coming down the pipe. From the 3-year cycle of their Switch endeavours, one would anticipate a new Camelot game this year, and the release of Golden Sun 1 and 2 on NSO this year might be seen as a way to up the profile of the series prior to a new release, perhaps an enhanced remake of Golden Sun Dark Dawn with some extra content. Equally, and perhaps more likely, they could have spent their time on a new Mario Tennis game to go into Nintendo's archives of developed but unreleased titles in order to provide a bit of ballast for their 2025 schedule. Moving from 35 employees for recent years and now diverting their focus to include supporting smartphone apps, I find it difficult to imagine that the scope of Camelot's game development will increase significantly. Also, while the Takahashi Brothers always identify themselves as RPG developers primarily, even somewhat implausibly while promoting Mario Golf, that identification may be strained even more if they begin handing creative control to younger developers who don't have deep roots in RPGs going back to the early Dragon Quest games like the Takahashi Brothers. The likelihood is that Camelot will continue their cycle of producing games, and if they can develop a smartphone side business, then this should insulate them against the risk of the next Nintendo venture failing to equal the success of the Switch, even as they continue to, serve up the new helpings of Mario Tennis and Mario Golf. Naturally, this is a deeply disappointing turn of events for Shining Force and Golden Sun fans, and I do think there is one last shot in the locker for Golden Sun particularly, that being their current project, developed prior to the Switch successor being launched, and potentially still for the OG Switch, and that could be a different type of game. Although Camelot's name has been attached to other sports titles, they've only ever worked on the golf and tennis mechanics of games for decades now. Bandai Namco did the rest of the heavy lifting on the 3DS's Mario Sports Superstars, with Switch having had its fill of golf and tennis for this generation. Any other game Camelot will be developing for the OG Switch would have to be different, and the only other franchise they've worked on this century is Golden Sun. All things considered, I suspect a banked Mario Tennis title for the next system is a likelier shout, especially since Camelot's new side business means they probably don't need to rush another game to market. Sadly, I'm now going to put it as a 70% highly likely prediction that Camelot's next game will be a Mario Tennis title, probably in 2025. All that said, while a new Golden Sun is a low chance, that's not the same as no chance. I'd say it's probably in the 30% category. But the good news, perhaps, is that a more diversified Camelot may be in a position to support the development of a new Golden Sun game, even if they weren't directly involved. Looking at the success of spiritual successor series in recent years, Undertale after Earthbound, Stardew Valley after Harvest Moon, it seems plausible to me that Nintendo could find enough Golden Sun enthusiasts at different studios, contract in the Takahashi Brothers as advisors at Camelot, and come up with something new. Would they do this? If franchises as obscure as Advance Wars and Famicom Detective Club and Another Code can get the nod, then maybe. Certainly Golden Sun Dark Dawn represents low-hanging fruit. It sold atrociously, and had sufficiently mixed reviews that it would benefit from some reworking, but it wouldn't involve a studio starting from scratch. Most new studios that Nintendo trusts with their IP seem to be asked to do remakes before new entries. That was certainly the case with Mercury Steam, who did Metroid Samus Returns before Metroid Dread, and more recently with Way Forward and Mages, who were asked to do remakes rather than new entries in the Advance Wars and Famicom Detective franchises. I'm putting the chance of a new Golden Sun title being announced before the end of 2026, either a remake or a new title, at just 30%. But what do you think? Please sound off in the comments and subscribe. Thank you as ever for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Take care, everyone.